ethics, sports ethics, fair play, integrity. We have to promote an environment that is healthy, physically or even mentally. Then we must have excellence in performance based on level playing field, right? And we also have to impart righteousness, training, character building, and education. And let's face it, sports produce fun and joy, right? Then there must be teamwork. The most important thing, there must be respect for the rule of law, for the regulations and bylaws governing sports. Now, fairness in doping policy. In fact, this was the case of a Canadian snowboarder that was disqualified after winning a gold medal at the 1998 Olympics. He was tested positive for cannabis or marijuana. However, there was no agreement between the International Ski Federation that marijuana should be a banned substance, even though cannabis or marijuana is a prohibited substance in IOC medical code IOC. So CAS, I believe, rightly overruled the decision of IOC to strip the snowboarder of his gold medal following an appeal by the Canadian Olympic Association. Well, in North America, in Canada, today we have marijuana shops, marijuana boutiques, and they are found in all major cities in Canada. Next, please. It's interesting to refer to a recent doping incident in Australia. In this situation, the owner, the doctor, and the coaches at a particular football club, they were sanctioned for bringing the game into disrepute by the Australian Football League and the Australian Sports Anti-Doping Agency. The penalties were fine of $2 million and suspensions of the coach for 12 months. The recent situation. Now we talk about doping and horse racing. Now, I do know quite a bit about horse racing because I myself, I'm a polo player, so I know about doping in horse racing. Because horse racing is very popular in England. Horse racing is exceptionally popular in common law jurisdiction, such as Singapore, such as Hong Kong, and even in Canada too. In the US, you have the famous Derby race. Now, racing is a popular social activity, as mentioned in several common law jurisdictions, such as England. I went to a race not once, but many times in England. In Hong Kong, there are 2 horse racing tracks. In Singapore, but it is also one of the most corrupt sports and games. Now, doping, in this case here, is the injection of enhancement drugs to the poor horses. It is common to have doping in horse racing. The urine test and the blood test were extracted before the race from the competing horses. The poor animals have no right to say yes or no. They are injected into the horses taking part in the racing competitions. Now talk about WADA. The last vice president was a university professor in Canada from Western University, Professor Richard McLaren. And the World Conference on Doping established WADA in 1999 in Lausanne, creating a uniform structure in the form of an Olympic movement anti-doping agency to support the establishment and implementations of measures in the fight against doping. Now, violations appeals must be made, as I say, to CAS. Now, WADA also, at the same time, conduct out of completions testing, coordinating research. In fact, in China, there is substantial research into many issues in sports law, and they are doing a very good job. I think Dr. An can later on say this. They have a lot of research promoting preventive and education action and harmonizing the scientific and technical standards and procedure for analysis and also standardized equipment. So these are the functions of WADA. Now, doping testing at the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics. Do you know that? This is quite interesting. In fact, the first Olympic Games to carry out routine inspection of dry blood spots, or DBS, that was carried out at this year Beijing Winter Olympics. And blood samples are placed on the test paper to see whether they contain prohibited substances. Anyway, I like my lecture to be interactive. Now, I would like to see the latest update on sports law in China. I will ask Betty, who is a soccer player in Guangzhou and eventually in Hong Kong. Betty?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the sports law of PRC. The doping provisions in the current sports law are found in several chapters. Last year, the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress announced a draft revision of the sports law, adding a new chapter on anti-doping. Last month, the Standing Committee released the second revision draft improving the regulation. The new clauses under this chapter prohibit athletes from using banned substances in sports. Organizations and individuals are prohibited from providing enhancement drugs to athletes. It also promotes the development of anti-doping technology, systems, and education. In addition, the State Council formulated the anti-doping regulation in accordance with the sports law in 2004, more specific and detailed rules. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Betty. We hope to see you in the national football team in the near future. Thank you so much. Now, the Olympic Charter. The Olympic Charter is quite clear on the ethical issues of sports too. It is a fundamental principle of the Olympic Charter that competition is among athletes. Competition must take place with total respect for sports ethics and morality, and there must be at all given times level playing field. And then respect for the rule of law, the bylaw, the regulations. This is clearly enshrined in the Olympic Charter. Next, please. Now, nature of human rights, image rights. I will touch briefly on image rights, okay, for this presentation. Commercial exploitation of a sportsman's name. It's can worth a lot. The image rights and other identifying characteristics, such as his nickname, his reputation, even his voice, right? His caricature, even his signature. his initials, all these have commercial value, and they are part of the image rights of a sportsperson. Now, image rights in modern marketing practice. You can see I have listed 5 items. All right, it can take place in the actual competitions of the day, whether it's a soccer game or World Athletics competitions. The World Athletics competitions will take place very soon, say in Oregon this year in summer, and they can also be part of advertisements in magazine, newspaper, and online media. And these days, you have online media, mass media, as well as social media, right? And you can have merchandising, stickers, and playing products. There will be computer games, advertising, and marketing agencies. And I think this area is later on going to be touched on by my colleague here, the second speaker, and she will touch on the intellectual property law. Next, please. Now, the players' celebrity status. Now, players' agents have to secure endorsement and merchandising deals with commercial companies. Right? The agents play a very important part. The superstar in any games, in any sport, has 3 separate levels for commercialization. It can be an individual, or as a club player, or with a national player, right? You can see separate commercial arrangement that can be established and built around each of these 3 separate areas. Now, to illustrate, you can see the substantial value of image rights. David Beckham was paid $1 to $5 million when he moved to LA Galaxy. 80% image rights and 20% playing. And this was a source, I got it from the Telegraph newspaper. Now, the world famous Tiger Woods golfer was considered actually a highly valuable sports superhero, sports superstar. And the name Tiger Woods, his branding, was valued at $55 million, ahead of the soccer player Roger Federer, the tennis player, and also ahead of David Beckham. That was from the commercial magazine in 2011, Forbes. Now we talk about legal status and protections of image rights. The existence of goods and services bearing the individual names, whether his name or his nickname or his image, without authorization. Any authorization from the player or from his agent, that will definitely cause serious damage to the value of the sporting personality, licensing rights in his image. And this is from a reported case in 1997. A reported case. Now, the position under English law, which is treated the same as other common law jurisdiction too. Now, English law has consistently refused to adopt any embracement principle that a person has a right to his or her name, and for the matter to identify its characteristics such as his voice or image. That is the position under English law. And I'm very happy that this is the authority from Professor Cornish in his book Intellectual Property, Patents, Copyright, Trademarks, and Allied Rights. Professor Cornish happens to be my university supervisor when I was in London School of Economics, or let's say he was my supervisor, university supervisor. Thank you so much. You can contact me on WeChat, and in India, I know some participants from India that cannot contact me on WeChat, but you can always contact me on my email address, and some of my friends and potential students will give you my WhatsApp address.